I've kind of got a title, and it's Come to Me and Relax in My Peace. You say, was that in the scripture? Yeah, it was. Come to me and relax in my peace. Well, the word relax, that word may have not been there, but that was the whole gist of it in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30. I was speaking down in El Salvador. I've shared this before one time. And they'd asked me to speak on raising children under grace. And I thought, well, that'll be good. I'm not sure I've done that, but that'll be good. And so I didn't know I was going to be speaking on this subject, so I began preaching and teaching, and some things come to my mind. And Jesus said, and we're going to look at this, my yoke is easy and my load is light. And I made the statement, if it's not easy and it's not light, it's not Jesus. And you say, well, sometimes life is hard. Have you ever noticed that in the hardest times, what you'll do, you'll quickly yield it to the Lord, and life gets easy? I know, Sue, I see Sue shaking her head. Those of you that are new to us, you may not know that Sue, nodding her head, not shaking. I meant agreeing with me is what I meant, nodding her head. And she was shaking it up and down. And Sue had cancer 3 times. And I'm pretty serious cancer, twice breast cancer and once another cancer. And one of them, they told her it had spread. And when they got in there, it had not. That's a long story, but Sue was at peace during that time. Johnny, when she was going through what she did, Brian, all my friends, it's amazing. It's amazing what they do and how they respond to this. I remember when Johnny was pregnant with David, our second son, and this was in the summer. And I was, back in the day, I had no money. I was in seminary. We had 3 babies while I was in seminary, and something broke on the car, you fixed it. You know, the water pump goes off. You take your radiator off. You take your fan and the clutch off. You change your water pump. You do it yourself. You say, did you know how to do that? Not before I did it. After I did it, I knew how. And the heater core in the car was messed up. It was stopped up, and so I was working on that, and the car was running hot. And I remember I was out there working on the car, and the radiator cap blew off. Now, let me tell you, a car runs efficiently when it runs at 240 degrees. That's not even considered hot. And what radiator fluid lets it run hotter and cooler without boiling. And so when it blew that radiator cap off, fortunately, it got me full blast in the chest. And all the skin came off my chest and stomach instantly. It later on came off my face and both arms. And I got to spend a lot of time sitting in a tub over at the hospital, then pulling skin off. And so when I did that, I mean, the pain was instant. I mean, it was really amazing. Johnny came running out there. The thing that saved me was that the water hose was right there in the front yard. And Johnny fell, and she was 6 or 7 months pregnant with David, maybe 5 months, I don't know. She fell, and that scared me. She got the neighbor across the street, and he drove me to the hospital. I sprayed myself with a water hose before I went, and that saved me because it cooled it. Because you got that stuff on you, and it's still cooking. Who knows what it could have turned into 3rd degree. You say, well, 3rd degree is the worst. 3rd degree doesn't hurt. You burn through the nerves. 2nd degree, around the 3rd degree is where the pain is. And but I cooled it, and that saved me. So I get over to the hospital, and they had a doctor there that had been in Vietnam, and there was a thing called Silverdine that they had developed from Vietnam with burn patients. And he just happened to be in the emergency room when I went there. Of course, they took me straight back there. And word of warning, if you ever have a serious burn, don't put anything on it. Dry cloth, water. Do not put any kind of salve on there, because whatever you put on has to come off. Don't do that. Fortunately, I had not. So I had already cleaned it with the water, and then they instantly put the Silverdine on there, and they wrapped me. I looked like a mummy. Both arms wrapped, chest wrapped, face, I don't remember about the face. Anyway, And then, of course, put me on pain medication. So they sent me back home that night. And then I would go to the hospital every day. And I would think, no more skin can come off. I was wrong. It could. And they put you in a tub and they boil you. It's not hot water, but they put they put betadine in that tub and they boil you to keep, the infection down. That's something they have to guard against. Anyway, miraculously, I healed like that, like overnight. And the doctors couldn't believe it. And then I went on that summer to work as a youth pastor at Prince Avenue Baptist Church. And he wanted me to come, and I thought, well, this will end that. It didn't. It didn't. It was just amazing how God did that. Well, why am I telling you all that? That night, as I was laying on the couch, I didn't sleep in the bed that night. In fact, I didn't sleep much that night, period. You say, were you in pain? Yeah, I was. Did the pain medication take care of all of it? No. It kind of dulled it, but that night, I can't describe to you how I felt. Some of you people will understand. I was in such peace that night. Everybody was praying for me. I was going to Bellevue Baptist Church at the time. And of course, I think some of them came to the hospital. And Johnny couldn't go because she had a baby at home, plus she was pregnant. And then they may have came to the house. I don't remember. I just remember one of my dear friends, a lady, who wound up losing her husband. He was killed. He was shocked. He was putting up an antenna, and it fell across a power cable and killed him instantly. One of my dear friends. And there she was looking after us. And I think she may have taken Peter or offered to take Peter. I don't remember the details. But anyway, I'm laying there on the couch that night in just such perfect peace. I can't describe it. It was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. Johnny, when you were accidentally shot, I won't talk about that because that was stupid too, what he was doing. But you were you ever afraid during that time?
I was too young.
He was too young to be afraid. He spent a good bit of time in ICU, but it's amazing the peace of God that passeth all understanding. Well, I'm going to read Matthew 11:28 through 30. And I'm going to start out by saying this, then we're going to talk about this. Either this is real or it's not. If it's not real, let's all quit. Let's all just stop. But if it is real, let's believe it. Okay? And I'm going to tell you it's real. Listen to what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 through 30. These are his words. Are you ready? Come to me. Where does he say come? To me. That's right. All you who are weary and burdened. The King James says heavy laden. And I will give you rest. That's what it says. I want to start shouting right now. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. There's no doubt here. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I'm just going to share some things that I saw from those two verses. 3 things to start with. First of all, you are all weary. We are all weary, whatever the situation. Andrew lost $500-something in Walmart this week. And Andrew's rich, so that wasn't a big deal to him. $500-something is like me buying you a Coke. Isn't that right, Andrew? Something like that, yeah. No, that's not right. Now, you can go home and worry about it, or you can think, boy, that was stupid, and realize that God's got it. He didn't do it on purpose. Andrew's the kind of guy that'll give you the shirt off his back, and he has many times. And I fussed at him for it. But you know what? I'd rather be like that, willing to give it away, than not. Well, you, me, we are all weary. We're going to talk about this. You're all burdened at times. We are all burdened. You are weary. You are burdened, And then here you go. You need rest, not sleep. We need sleep too. But you can sort of sleep and not have soul rest. You need soul rest. Where do you get that soul rest? Jesus said, you will find rest for your souls. So let me ask you. Okay, let's talk about you. I'm looking at the people in the room, but I'm looking at you, wherever you are. Okay, here's a question. Are you weary? Are you burdened? Do you need rest? The answer to all of those questions is yes. So what do we do? What do we do? Praise the Lord. He starts out with the solution before he even talks about the problem. So what do we do? He says, come to me. There's the solution. Now, this is a command. This is an imperative. It doesn't tell us if this is a present imperative. It doesn't tell us if this is an aorist imperative. And let me say, what is the deal there? Why? Because our aorist imperative would say, begin to do what you're presently not doing. Okay? If you're not coming to him, start. Come to him. If you are continually coming to him as these things come up, continue. Both of them are right. But here's the solution. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care what it is. My friends on here that have this devastating cancer, or that are financially destitute, or family issues. I don't know what it is. Physical issues. I don't know. Whatever it is, the solution is come to me. Come to me. We don't come to him, and he's not giving us this command because he's angry. Some of you have this picture of an angry God in your mind, and you can't get over the fact that you must do things so that God won't be mad at you. Put that God out of your mind. That is not the God that's talking to us now. Some of you might get angry with me because I tell you that that's not the God that we're talking about. How do I know? Because he's going to tell us. He's not angry, but because he loves you. He wants you to come to him. When your children were little and they were hurting for whatever reason, and they came to you and they wanted a hug. Sometimes I need a hug. I just need a hug. Some people say, well, I'm not a hugger. I'm not a hugger. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You need rest. You need soul rest. Come to me. And then he says, take my yoke. We're going to talk about this. This is an aorist imperative. He's telling them, you're not doing it. Begin to do this. Begin to do what you're presently not doing. Take my yoke upon yourself. And we're going to talk about what that means. And then he says, learn from me. Learn from me. I have a question. When Jesus was going through the things that he went through, who did he turn to? He turned to the Father. He depended on the Spirit. Everything that he did, he depended on the Spirit living in him. You say, yeah, but he's fully God. He can do that. Yes, he's fully God. But he was fully man, tempted in every way that we're tempted, and yet without sin. Learn from me. This word learn. Let me tell you what this means. To be appraised or to increase one's knowledge. To learn by use and practice. Do you realize the quicker that you become the person, or no, now let me back up. The quicker that you practice coming to him, the easier it's going to get to come to him. Some people have the idea that you come to him when it's really bad. When I was in Memphis many years ago, I was on staff at the seminary there. I was not only in seminary, but I was on staff at the seminary. And we started St. Joseph Hospital, which was a Catholic hospital. I'm not putting anybody down. But the chief of staff, the head of the hospital, was a nun, a sister. And they had a father there, quote unquote. He was the chaplain at the hospital, but he had some issues. He had some alcohol issues, major issues. And she thought, I don't care anymore. I don't care if it's Catholic. I don't care if it's Baptist. I just want somebody that's going to come in here and minister to these patients. And so she came to the seminary. I was in charge of practical missions. And they asked, would we provide the chaplains for the hospital? The requirement being every day that we're there, and had several, I don't remember how many chaplains we had, we would go into every new patient the day they arrived and pray with them the first day they were there. Folks, I don't know any Baptist hospitals that do that. But that sister who had been a missionary, and she went to the seminary up the road, and this hospital was united with St. Jude. St. Joseph treated the adults, St. Jude treated the children. They were right next to each other. This is a famous hospital in Memphis. And she said, here's what I want. I want you to come in there. I want you to pray with every patient the day they get there. And so we said, we will. And so we did it, and it was wonderful. Just a wonderful experience. Now, this is what I'm going to say. It was kind of funny. Some people would say, well, I'm Presbyterian. Okay. I didn't ask what you were. Didn't care. I just want to know if it's okay if I pray for you. Eventually, they would all say, yes. But I remember some would say, is it that bad that you've got to pray? You say, you're kidding. No, I'm not kidding. But you know, that's how you react. You wait till it's really bad before you bring it to the Lord. Many times we will bring it to the Lord when it's really bad because it's out of our control. And the problem is, if we think that we have some control over the situation, then we need to come. I was thinking about it this morning. I was thinking just how grateful I am for the good doctors and the good nurses and for the treatment I've gotten and for the encouragement I've gotten from the doctors and from those of you that have been praying for me. And it has been evident. They couldn't believe. A week later, when I went to the hospital, I carried my cane up there, and I'm walking not to the hospital. It's like a hospital, this huge facility they have. And I'm carrying my cane, walking around. I told the nurse and the x-ray tech, I brought this for y'all. Excuse me? Because y'all freaked out when you heard I wasn't going to be using the walker. And now I'm not even using the cane, but I've got it. And they laughed and they thought, would you believe that 3 months later some people are still using a walker? I said, yeah, I guess. But I've got a cane, so I just wanted you to know I've got one with me. And so, and this morning, as I was writing stuff down and praying, I already knew what I was going to be speaking on. And I said to the Lord, Lord, I'm sorry that I've not really been bringing this to you. Things are going well. I'm really grateful. But Father, I'm so sorry that that I'm not just seeming grateful to you. Now, if things had not gone well, I could still be grateful to him. Because God is good. And God means everything for our good. Now, I don't understand this. When my wife had a stroke, followed a few months later by a cancer diagnosis, man, she was amazing. She was amazing. I never saw her, well, I won't say never saw her complain, but bottom line is, she turned it over early on. And it makes it so much easier. Well, I need to learn from him. Learn from him. Learn what? And this word learn, this is do what you're presently not doing. Take his yoke. We're going to be talking about that. Learn from me. Go ahead and learn. Everything is a teaching moment. To be appraised, increase one knowledge, to learn by use and practice. Practice coming to him. Learn what? Okay, here we go. Learn what? Learn from me. You ever say, okay, I'll learn from you. Learn what? You know, he goes on to tell us what we're to learn. This is what he said. Learn this. Are you ready? Learn that I am gentle. Aren't you glad? Just like a mother is gentle with her newborn, it's amazing. We'd never had any children. We had 4. And I remember when we brought Peter home, it was really funny. It was hilarious. You should have seen 2 educated people trying to change one diaper. It was hilarious. And I didn't realize how far little boys can pee, too. That was another thing. They have, they could pee a long way, and if you don't get that diaper on there quick. And we didn't. I think he got the mirror the first day. I mean, it was looking back. Johnny was crying. I didn't know what to do. It was a paper diaper. Click, shoop, and we couldn't do it. We didn't get the diaper on. I don't know how long we spent on that one diaper. Finally, we had to throw that one away and get another one. Finally, we got a diaper on there, and then we went to cloth diapers for the first 3. The 4th one, we had paper diapers. But my wife went from that one day, literally, she'd never changed a diaper in her life. She could do everything, but she'd never changed a diaper. And it's funny, they don't give you a class on changing the diapers in the place. I figured they figured nobody's that stupid. But you get home and you got 2 people with advanced degrees and we can't change a diaper. It's hilarious. But let me tell you what my wife did do. That little boy was drawn to his mama because she was gentle and she loved that little baby. She loved that baby and all her babies. You don't have to teach a mama how to love on their babies. They're gentle. They're gentle. This word gentle, it means meek. That's what the word means. Jesus was listed as the meekest man that ever lived. Now, that word meek does not mean weak. When we talk about stallions, racehorses, the word meek literally means broken. And what does that word mean? Broken. Doesn't work? Nope, that's not what it means. That literally means power under control. He is gentle. He has great power. More than that, he has all power under control. He is gentle. And then he says, I am humble of heart. Humble of heart. What does that mean, humble? That word humble, you know what it means? And I almost don't like this word describing Jesus, but this is the way he described himself. This word means lowly. It means of low degree. It literally means lowly in spirit. You say, why would he describe himself that way? Some people think humbling means I'm no good, I'm worthless. That's not humble. That's false humility. That's not real. Let me tell you what this means. This would mean Jesus didn't see himself as unapproachable at all. He sees himself as approachable. He wants us to see him as approachable. He wants us to see him literally as one of us. He was born of a virgin. He was born a baby. He was laid in a manger or a feeding trough. And he was wrapped with whatever cloth they could find. And he grew up gaining favor with men and gaining wisdom. And he understands whatever it is. I don't care. It may be your fault. Probably is. You know, most of the stuff that we go through is our fault. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But he wants us to understand that there's nothing that we think we've done or we have done that would prevent him from caring, and it would prevent us from bringing it to him. I don't care what your situation is. I don't care. It does not matter. Jesus cares, and he wants you to bring it to him, and he understands. If you're hurting based on what someone else did or based on what you did, know this. He hurts too. He hurts right along with you. Okay? We will learn. And then what will happen when we come to him and when we take on his yoke and when we learn, what will happen? Now, this is future tense. Let me explain what that means when I'll give the phrase in just a minute. That means there's no doubt. It will happen. Here's what's going to happen when you come to Jesus. You ready? And this is such good news. You will find rest for your souls. That's what's going to happen. If you're struggling right now, and you are with something, we all are. Whatever it is you think is too big, or whether you think you can handle it, doesn't matter. Come to Him. Take on His yoke, and you will find rest for your souls. Well, there's some facts of relationship with Him. He goes on to describe His yoke to us and His burden. He said, my yoke is easy. My yoke is easy. You know, when you think about a yoke on an oxen, sometimes they have double yoke. I've heard people explain these things, that there are two different kinds of double yokes. There's the yoke where you have one oxen on the left and one oxen on the right. And then there's another kind of double yoke where you would have an oxen, then you would have another oxen behind him. And you could think about that with a stagecoach. Remember the old stagecoaches? You might have 6 horses. You had left, right, left, right, left, right. But he says, my yoke is easy. And this word yoke is a metaphor. It's a metaphor of any burden or bondage. Whatever is your burden or your bondage, it's Jesus' burden. It's Jesus' bondage. And it's easy to Him. He said, my yoke is easy. Now you say, yeah, but this is my doing, Craig. I did this to myself. So? Of course you did. Of course you did. Of course I did. It's called flesh. We mess up. But here's the good news. He doesn't mess up. He doesn't. My yoke. He said it's easy. And this word easy, you know what this means? It means fit for use. When a carpenter would make a yoke, and by the way, Jesus was a carpenter, and when he would make a yoke to go on an oxen, that yoke would fit so well and be so smooth it would not rub blisters or sores on the oxen around his neck or shoulders. And he could work all day without injury. It's an easy yoke. It literally means fit for use. It means virtuous. It means good. It means mild. It means pleasant. And here are the best 2 words. Kind and benevolent. Jesus is kind. He is benevolent. You know, in churches you have what they call a benevolent fund. When somebody has a need financially many times, you meet that need, you give them money. You say, yeah, but they did it to themselves. Again, so if somebody has a need and they've been frivolous and they've done a bad job and their children need to eat, or they need the power bill paid, I'm not saying you're going to help them be irresponsible. That's not what I'm talking about. If you only helped people that had no needs, who would you help? You wouldn't help anybody. Think about your own children. Have you helped your own children? I know the answer to that. The answer is yes. Did they mess up? I know the answer to that. The answer is yes. I have a question. Did you mess up along the way? Have you messed up? People help you? Well, the bottom line, he said, my yoke is easy. It's fit for use. My yoke is virtuous. It's good. It's mild. It's pleasant. It's kind. It's benevolent. Benevolent. I'll get it. I just have to try. In fact, when you've got the yoke of Jesus around you, it's as if you don't even have a yoke. And then he says, my burden is light. My burden. Well, I thought it was my burden. When I come to him, I'm bringing my burdens. He calls, look at this. He calls your burden his burden. Think about it. And it's light. He's got it. This word burden, it means the freight of lading of a ship. We could call it cargo. Now, when you're loading cargo on a ship, you have sailors on that ship. And many times with the new things, and they did it in the old days too, they would have a crane and they would pick up something on the dock and they would swing, I get my hand down so you can see it, pick up something on the dock and then it would swing over to the hull of the ship and then it would go down and they'd place it in the hull of the ship. And then it would float. It's amazing. Now, if somebody, really cared, some sailor, some big, strong sailor, and he said, you know what, I just don't think it's fair that ship carry that cargo all by itself. I'm going to do my part. And he said, just let that particular, it's not a big thing, let that smaller package, put it down on me and I'll hold it up. You say, well, that's stupid. Yeah, it is, isn't it? That is stupid, isn't it? Because you see, the ship is holding you and the cargo. So what does a smart sailor do? He lays his burden down. When I was in the military, Andrew, you were in the military, and we used to go out into the field. Sometimes we'd march. Sometimes when they were good to us, they'd put us in these things that looked like a cattle car. Big, long trailer, and we'd get in there and we'd have our field pack with us. And sometimes if you're fully loaded, those things could weigh close to 100 pounds if we had everything we had on there. And so if we were in a truck, the first thing I did when I got in that truck, took that pack off, put it at my feet, took the rifle off, put it at my feet. I took everything off and put it down because the truck was carrying us both anyway. It was crazy for me to carry it. If I'm in the truck still carrying the pack, that's just dumb. I never saw anybody that dumb. I really never did. Everybody did that, took off their pack. But we come to Jesus and we don't lay anything down. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about me. Lay it down. Remember I told you about a song? Lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Lay your burden down. Love song, sang that song. Those guys hadn't been saved very long at all. They came out of the hippie drug culture. And man, they were writing these great songs with great theological impact. And do you know the people that struggled with it? Church people. You're exactly right. The early 70s was the greatest, I don't like the word revival, I'll say awakening in this century or in the past century during the 70s. Ask a lot of people when they got saved and you'll find out it was in the early 70s. Ask a lot of people that. I'll guarantee you that'll be the case. When did you get saved? Early 70s. When did you have cancer the first time? Okay. But what I'm saying, though, is when people have a burden and they can't do anything with it, and when they lay it down, they realize there's a God who loves them. And you know what? That's the one you turn to. Lay your burden down. This word burden, let me give you some of the definitions. This means burdensome rights. You say rights. What are we talking about? Obligations. Lay your obligations down. Christ lays no obligations on his followers. You say, wait a minute. He tells us we're to love him. Yes. He could say it another way. When you understand that I love you, you will love me. He talks about what he says to people by way of the contrast of the precepts of the Pharisees. The Pharisees' laws were oppressive. They were oppressive. They weighed the people down. And Jesus said, come to me, and I will give you rest. The 10 Commandments. You say, but Craig, you're not saying we're not to keep the 10 Commandments. I'm saying you can't keep the 10 Commandments. If you've tried, I can tell you this, you've failed. Have you loved the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul? Have you always done that? The answer is no. Have you ever lusted? The answer is yes. Have you ever lied? The answer is yes. I could go on. Jesus said, if you've broken one of them, you've broken them all. That's what he said. Now, are the 10 Commandments bad? Of course not. Are they good? Yes. That's what God does in our heart. And he gives us the desire to obey him. But our obedience to him is not what we always thought it was. I always thought obedience is what I did. No. Obedience is believing him, receiving his life as my life, understanding my true identity in him, and then walking as who I am. People struggle today with exactly the same thing that Adam and Eve struggled with in the garden. There were 2 trees that he talked about in the garden. One, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He said, do not eat from that tree. And they did. I call that the doing tree, the trying tree. Do your best tree. Your identity is not based on what you do. And then there was a second tree, and it's called the tree of life. Eat from that tree. The tree of life, the life of Jesus that is given to you and to all men that they don't know and they're not believing and they're not receiving. But eat of me, he's saying. Eat of me. I will tell you what to do as you're going, because you don't know. He said, my burden is light. In this word, it means in weight. This is a weight thing. It would be the same word used as a scale, weight, measurable. And this word light, it means quick and agile. Now, in the Army, going back to the Army, praise the Lord, I was never in combat, and I'm really grateful. But in combat, we had combat training. Everybody does, especially when I was in. It was during Vietnam. It was going hot and heavy. In combat, you know the first thing you do with your pack in combat? You take it off. You lay it down. Because you need to be able to move and move quickly. Lay it down, folks. That's synonymous with being light. In war, soldiers lay their pack down and they do battle. It's the same with us. We lay our burdens down and we do battle, spiritual battle. Now, spiritual battle, we don't win battles based on what we do. We have won the battle based on what he did, and we walk in that victory. I'm going to stop. I hope this has been a benefit. I knew that I was supposed to share this, and I could go on and on. I've got pages of notes that I've used in the past, but these are all fresh. Lay your burdens down, folks. I don't know what it is. You may not even know. You may have to say, Lord, I don't even know what it is. I just know I feel heavy. I feel anything but light. And he's saying to you, come to me, and I will give you soul rest. He said, I will give you rest for your soul. I'm going to pray right now for all of us. If you're watching this prayer is for you. Father, I pray for myself. I pray for everybody in this room. I pray for everybody that's on here live with us, and I pray for all the people over the course of the weeks that will watch this. I pray that we will be quick to lay our burden down, and we will walk in soul rest, and we will walk and know the joy of Jesus in our life. I pray this in his name, and I thank you for it. in Jesus' name. I love you all, and we'll see you next time.